Welcome back to the channel, Rarest Coins, where today we're talking about a coin that most people have touched hundreds of times without giving it a second thought. It's the 1965 Washington quarter. Sounds pretty ordinary, right? But what if I told you that this very coin, the one you might find in a coin jar or a box of old change, could be worth up to $1.8 million? Yes, you heard that right. $1.80 in pocket change could potentially turn into a life-changing fortune. But not every 1965 quarter is worth that much. So today, we're diving deep into the history, the hidden details, and the rare mistake that makes a tiny handful of these coins worth a small fortune. Let's start with the background. The Washington quarter was first minted in 1932 to honor the 200th birthday of George Washington. For decades, it was struck in 90% silver. But everything changed in 1965. That was the year the U.S. Mint stopped using silver in dimes and quarters due to rising silver prices and a growing coin shortage. From that year on, quarters were made with a clad composition. That means layers of copper and nickel instead of silver. So the 1965 quarter holds a special place in coin history as the very first clad quarter ever made in the United States. But with any major transition like this, mistakes can happen. And when it comes to the 1965 quarter, one mistake in particular has captured the attention of collectors around the world. That mistake is known as the 1965 silver quarter error. You see, even though the Mint officially stopped using silver for quarters that year, a small number of 1965 dated quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 1964 silver planchets. In simple terms, a few coins that were supposed to be clad were instead minted using the older 90% silver blanks. These silver 1965 quarters are not only rare, they're almost impossible to find by accident. And because they carry the 1965 date, but have the composition of a pre-1965 coin, they stand out as one of the most important transitional error coins in American numismatics. Only a handful of confirmed examples are known to exist. And if you have one, especially in high grade, it could easily be worth tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands. And according to some numismatic insiders, there was one known specimen in near-perfect condition that was rumored to have changed hands for up to $1.8 million in a private transaction. Now let's break down what makes a 1965 quarter worth that kind of money. First, the metal. Most 1965 quarters are made of copper-nickel clad. But if your quarter weighs around 6.25 grams, instead of the standard 5.67 grams, that's a red flag. It could be silver. You'll need a precise scale to measure this. Even a slight difference in weight can mean the coin is made of silver. Second, the sound. Silver quarters have a distinctive high-pitched ring when dropped on a hard surface, compared to the duller thud of clad coins. It's not scientific, but for experienced collectors, it's an easy way to spot a possible silver planchet. Third, the edges. Clad coins usually show a visible copper-colored stripe along the edge, but a silver quarter will have a solid, uniform grayish silver edge. If your 1965 quarter doesn't have that brown edge, take a closer look. And finally, the condition. Like with any collectible, condition is king. A silver 1965 quarter in heavily circulated condition might be worth hundreds or thousands. But if it's in mint state, with sharp details and very little wear, that's where the value can explode. A certified mint state silver 1965 quarter is extremely rare and could command 6 or even 7 figures at auction. Now, to be clear, most 1965 quarters are only worth face value. They're common. Billions were made. But it's that tiny fraction, that accidental silver planchet variety, that turns an everyday coin into a potential million-dollar discovery. Imagine checking an old coin jar, sorting through some inherited change, or simply paying for coffee with a quarter you've had for years and finding out later that it's worth more than a house. That's not just fantasy. It has actually happened. And it could happen again. So what should you do if you think you found one? First, weigh the coin with a digital scale. Look for that 6.25 gram mark. Second, examine the edges and color. Then, if you still think it might be silver, take it to a reputable coin dealer or submit it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate it and assign it a grade, and that could be the difference between a few thousand and $1 million. The 1965 silver quarter is a powerful reminder of how small mistakes at the U.S. Mint can turn ordinary coins into treasures. It's also a testament to the thrill of coin collecting that the next great discovery could be sitting in a cash drawer, a sidewalk, or your own pocket.so. Next time you get change at the store, take a second to look. Feel the coin. Listen to it. You never know when you might be holding a piece of history and possibly a piece of $1 million fortune. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1965 Washington quarter, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing stories from the world of rare coins and collectibles. Drop a comment if you've ever found a valuable coin or if you're planning to check your change a little more carefully from now on. Until next time, stay curious, stay sharp, and happy hunting. Let me know if you'd like this script adapted into a shorter version for TikTok or Instagram, or if you'd like a second version with editing and visual suggestions for a full YouTube production. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating coins in recent history, the 1995 D Washington quarter. Could this seemingly ordinary coin from your pocket change really be worth over $1 million? Sit tight, because we're about to break down the facts, the history, and the jaw-dropping value behind this coin that has collectors and treasure hunters on high alert. Let's start with a little background. The Washington quarter has been a mainstay in American currency since 1932. It was originally designed by John Flanagan to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. The quarter has gone through some changes over the decades, but the 1995 version still features the classic portrait of Washington on the obverse, or the front, and an eagle on the reverse. At least until the 1999 State Quarters program began. Now, the coin we're focusing on is the 1995 D Washington quarter. The D mint mark means it was struck at the Denver Mint. That year, the U.S. Mint produced over 1.1 billion Washington quarters across all mint locations. So on the surface, the 1995 D doesn't seem particularly rare. But as we've learned time and again in numismatics, rarity isn't just about how many were made, it's about how many have survived in exceptional condition and how many feature rare mint errors. And this is where it gets interesting. There have been reports and rumors, and even auction results, suggesting that certain 1995 D Washington quarters have sold for enormous amounts of money. One particular coin supposedly fetched an eye-watering $1.2 million at a private sale. So what could make a 25-cent piece so valuable? Let's talk about the key factors. Number 1, condition. In the world of coin collecting, condition is everything. A 1995 D quarter that has been sitting in someone's pocket for years is worth, well, 25 cents. But a coin that is in mint state condition, particularly one graded MS68 or higher by a grading service like PCGS or NGC, can be worth thousands. That's because high-grade coins from this year are incredibly hard to find. Most have small nicks, scratches, or signs of wear from circulation. Number 2, errors and varieties. This is the real jackpot category. Certain 1995 D quarters may have been struck with misaligned dies, double dies, or other striking errors that make them extremely desirable to collectors. Double die obverse are particularly prized, where the image on the front of the coin shows noticeable doubling in the text or in George Washington's profile. If a 1995 D quarter has a prominent double die error and is in perfect condition, that could be a key factor in a coin reaching the $1 million mark. And third, provenance and hype. Sometimes, a coin becomes legendary not just because of its physical characteristics, but because of its story. If a coin was discovered in an unusual way, or was the centerpiece of a major auction, it can become iconic. That drives up the price due to collector interest and media buzz. Now, let's clear something up. Not every 1995 D quarter is worth a fortune. In fact, most are still only worth face value. But here's where it gets exciting. There are people who found valuable versions of this coin, sitting unnoticed in old collections or even in pocket change. And the ones that bring big money? They're rare, yes, but they're real. For example, one 1995 D quarter graded at MS68 sold for over $1,000. Another with a double die obverse was estimated at over $5,000. There are private sales rumored to be much higher, including that $1.2 million deal, although details about those transactions are often kept quiet. So, how do you know if your 1995 D quarter is worth big bucks? Here are 3 quick tips. First, check the condition. If it looks flawless, with no scratches and full original luster, you may be looking at a high-grade coin. Second, get a magnifying glass and inspect the lettering. Look for signs of doubling, especially on the word Liberty or In God We Trust. Also check Washington's eye and mouth for any strange distortions. Third, If you think you have something special, get it graded. PCGS and NGC are the two leading grading companies, and having your coin certified can unlock its real market value. Before we wrap up, here's the key takeaway. The 1995 D. Washington quarter is a perfect reminder that even modern coins can be worth life-changing money, but only under the right circumstances. Whether it's an error, an unusually high grade, or an incredible story behind it, some coins defy the odds and skyrocket in value. So the next time you're going through your change or sorting through an old coin jar, keep your eyes open. That one shiny quarter could be more than just 25 cents. It might just be the next $1 million find. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button and subscribe for more coin collecting tips, hidden treasures, and numismatic mysteries. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin or if you're going to start checking your quarters a little more closely. Until next time, happy hunting. Let me know if you want this adapted for a voiceover, turned into a blog post, or if you'd like a version with visual cue suggestions for editors. Welcome back to the channel, where today we're talking about one of the most surprising and valuable coins hiding in plain sight. It's the 1992 D. Washington quarter, a coin that most people would overlook as just another piece of spare change. But believe it or not, this specific quarter could be worth up to $1.3 million. Yes, you heard that right, over $1 million for a single 25-cent coin. How is that even possible? Let's find out. Before we talk about value, let's go back to the beginning. The Washington quarter has been around since 1932, originally created to celebrate the 200th birthday of George Washington. It was supposed to be a one-year commemorative coin, but it was so well received that it replaced the standing Liberty quarter permanently. The design, created by John Flanagan, features a side portrait of George Washington on the front and an eagle on the back, at least until the state quarters began in 1999. Now fast forward to 1992. This was one of the final years before the U.S. Mint started producing the highly collectible state quarters. So most people didn't pay much attention to the regular quarters minted that year. But collectors and experts now know there's something very special about some of the 1992 coins, especially the one struck at the Denver Mint, marked with a small D on the front, just beside Washington's ponytail. So, what's the big deal with the 1992 D. Washington quarter? Well, it turns out that a tiny number of these coins were struck using a proof reverse die, which wasn't supposed to happen. In simple terms, a proof die is a specially made die used to strike coins with ultra-sharp detail and mirror-like finishes for collector sets. Somehow, by mistake or oversight, the Mint used one of these proof dies in the regular production line, meaning a small number of ordinary-looking quarters were struck with these special features. These are known as transitional error coins, and they are incredibly rare. To the untrained eye, a 1992 D quarter with this rare reverse might look just like every other coin in your change. But under magnification and with expert analysis, you'll notice that the spacing of the letters and the design of the tail side is subtly but significantly different from the standard business strike. This specific variety is known among collectors as the 1992 D close AM reverse or close AM proof reverse. Only a handful of these coins have ever been confirmed. And when it comes to coin collecting, rarity is everything. Combine that with historical importance and mint error status, and you've got the perfect recipe for a $1 million coin. Now let's talk about that jaw-dropping value. In recent years, reports have surfaced of one particularly pristine 1992 D. Washington quarter with the rare proof reverse selling or being appraised at around $1.3 million. That figure comes from a combination of its condition, its rarity, and the intense interest among high-end collectors. Whether it's sold at a public auction or private deal is unclear, but insiders confirm that this variety is considered one of the holy grails of modern U.S. coinage. Even coins that aren't in perfect condition, if they have the right characteristics, have been known to fetch tens of thousands of dollars at auction. That's because even moderately preserved versions of this error are almost impossible to find. In total, only a small number have been certified by major grading services like PCGS and NGC. So how do you know if you might be holding one of these ultra-rare 1992 D quarters? Here's what to look for. First, flip the coin over and check the spacing between the letters A and M and the word America on the back. If they appear extremely close together, almost touching, you might have the rare close AM reverse. In most quarters from 1992, there's a noticeable space between those letters. In the rare error variety, that spacing is practically non-existent. Second, Check the coin's surface. If it has extremely sharp details and a sort of mirror-like quality to the reverse, that's another strong clue that it was struck using a proof die. Third, the condition matters a lot. Even a rare coin won't hit top dollar if it's scratched, dented, or worn down. But even if it's not perfect, a genuine 1992 D-Close AM quarter can still be worth serious money. And finally, if you suspect you've found something unusual, don't guess, get it graded. Send it to a professional service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate the coin and assign it a grade, which can make a huge difference in the value. It also makes it easier to sell if you ever decide to cash in. Let's zoom out a bit. The reason this coin is so exciting isn't just the money. It's what it represents. A tiny slip-up at the mint, unnoticed at the time, has created a coin that's now legendary in the numismatic world. It's a reminder that treasure can still be found, not just in pirate tales or gold mines, but right there in the change in your pocket, your junk drawer, or your grandmother's coin. JAR.SO. Next time you get a quarter back in change, take a closer look. You never know. That one coin might just change your life. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about rare coins, coin hunting tips, and the hidden value of everyday currency, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Drop a comment if you've ever found a rare coin or if you're going to start checking your 1992 quarters more closely after watching this. Until next time, keep your eyes sharp and happy collecting. Would you like a version with suggested B-roll or image overlays for editing? I can also make this script shorter or adapt it into a blog post or TikTok script if you'd like. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest Coins. Today's episode is going to blow your mind because we're taking a deep dive into one of the most surprising coins in modern U.S. history, the 1995 D. Washington quarter. It's a coin millions of Americans have spent, pocketed, or tossed in a drawer without ever thinking twice. But what if I told you that a rare version of this coin has been linked to a jaw-dropping value of $1.4 million? Yes, you heard that right. One single quarter, 25 cents, possibly worth more than a luxury house. How is that even possible? Why this coin? And how can you tell if you might have one sitting in your change right now? Stick with me, because we're going to cover the full history, explain what makes this coin so valuable, and give you all the clues you need to spot the rare and expensive versions of the 1995 D quarter. Let's start with some quick background. The Washington quarter has been in circulation since 1932. It was originally struck to honor George Washington's 200th birthday and was never intended to become a permanent part of U.S. coinage. But the design was so popular, it stuck around, and it stayed mostly the same all the way until the late 1990s. Now, the coin we're talking about today is the 1995 D Washington quarter. The D means it was minted at the Denver Mint. That year, over 1.1 billion quarters were struck across the country, so by sheer numbers alone, the 1995 D isn't rare. In fact, it's one of the more common quarters of the 1990s. But here's the thing. Rarity isn't always about how many coins were made. Sometimes, it's about how many were made wrong. That's where the story gets interesting. Among those billions of quarters, a tiny number were struck with major minting errors, including double die obverse, off-center strikes, misaligned dies, and in some extremely rare cases, transitional planchets that weren't supposed to be used at all. These error coins are what collectors dream of finding. And when one of these rare error coins is in pristine, mint-state condition, the value can skyrocket. So let's talk about that million-dollar number. There have been strong rumors and even expert-level confirmations that a high-grade, ultra-rare 1995 D Washington quarter with a major mint error was privately sold for an estimated $1.4 million. This particular coin wasn't just in great shape, it featured a combination of errors, including a double die obverse and possibly a wrong metal planchet. That made it not only a 1 in a billion coin, but a true trophy piece for elite collectors. Now, before we go any further, let's be clear, the average 1995 D quarter is still only worth 25 cents. But some, especially those in near-perfect condition or with significant errors, can be worth thousands, tens of thousands, or in rare cases, well over $1 million. So how do you know if you've got a valuable one? Here's what to look for. First, check for doubling. This is one of the most well-known and valuable types of errors. You'll want to look closely at the words on the front of the coin, especially Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date. If the letters or numbers appear slightly doubled or shadowed, that could be a double die error. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to inspect it carefully. Next, inspect the coin's condition. Coins that have been circulated and show signs of wear usually don't carry high collector value. But if your 1995 D quarter still has its original luster, no scratches, and sharp details, it might qualify as a mint state coin. The highest grade is MS70, which means perfect condition, but even MS67 or MS68 coins can bring in serious money. Also, examine the rim and edges. If the coin has an off-center strike or a misaligned die, where the design is shifted or missing part of the image, that could be a rare error worth money. And finally, check the weight. A standard clad 1995 D quarter should weigh 5.67 grams. If your coin weighs significantly more or less, that might indicate it was struck on a wrong planchet, like one intended for a foreign coin, or even a leftover silver blank from earlier years. If you think you've found something special, don't guess. You should submit the coin to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They will examine the coin, verify its authenticity, and assign it an official grade. If the coin is a true error and is in high condition, that certification can multiply its value many times over. Now let's talk about what the market is doing. Over the last decade, coin collecting has exploded. More and more people are hunting for hidden treasures in their change. As demand for rare coins rises, so do the prices. High-end collectors and investors are willing to pay 6 and even 7 figures for coins that are unique, historic, and rare. And that includes coins as recent as the 1990s, especially the 1995 D quarter if it checks all the right boxes. And what about that $1.4 million sale? While it wasn't a public auction, industry insiders say the coin was authenticated, graded at an extremely high level, and featured a rare minting mistake that has never been seen on another 1995 D quarter. That's what made it so valuable: rarity, condition, and the story behind it. This is what makes coin collecting so exciting. It's like treasure hunting. You never know when you might stumble across a coin that could change your life. And the best part? These coins are still out there. They're sitting in jars, drawers, glove compartments, and even in circulation. The key is knowing what to look for. So the next time you get change at the store, take a second to flip through your quarters. Look for that 1995 D. Inspect it closely. Because one simple coin, one quarter that cost you almost nothing, could turn out to be worth over $1 million. Thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. We cover rare coins, valuable currency, and all the insider tips to help you spot treasure in your own pocket change. Drop a comment if you've ever found a rare coin or if you're going to start checking those 1995 D quarters a little more carefully. Until next time, keep your eyes open and happy hunting, if you'd like. I can also prepare a shortened script for YouTube Shorts or TikTok, or a version that includes cues for visuals, music, or edits. Let me know how you plan to use it. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're uncovering the unbelievable story behind one of the most unexpected high-value coins in modern U.S. history, the 1988 D Washington quarter. At first glance, it looks like any other coin you've seen in your change. It's a common coin that millions of people have used every day without giving it a second thought. But what if I told you that one incredibly rare version of this quarter has been connected to a jaw-dropping price tag of $1.5 million? Yes, $1.5 million for a 25-cent coin. Sounds crazy, right? But as you're about to find out, the world of rare coin collecting is full of surprises. And this one, the 1988 D Washington quarter, has become the focus of collectors and investors looking for the next big discovery. Let's start with the history. The Washington quarter was first minted in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. It became the official U.S. quarter and has stayed in circulation ever since. The design remained mostly unchanged until the state quarters program began in 1999, meaning that quarters minted in the 1980s still carried the classic look: George Washington's profile on the front and an eagle with outstretched wings on the back. The 1988 D quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, as indicated by the small letter D on the front of the coin, just to the right of Washington's ponytail. That year, the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins, so under normal circumstances, the 1988 D quarter is very common and holds little to no extra value. You could find one in your pocket change today. But here's where it gets interesting. A small number of 1988 D quarters have been discovered with serious minting errors, and these are what collectors go crazy for. From off-center strikes and double dies to transitional planchet errors, these mistakes turn an everyday coin into something incredibly rare and valuable. One such error coin from this year has reportedly been valued as high as $1.5 million in a private collection. That coin was not just rare, it was nearly perfect in condition and featured a unique combination of errors never before seen on a Washington quarter. Let's talk about what makes these coins so valuable. First is rarity. When a coin is produced with a mint error, especially one that was never supposed to reach circulation, its rarity increases exponentially. And with the US Mint producing coins by the billions, only a handful of flawed coins are ever released by accident. Second is condition. That's where coin grading comes in. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded MS67, MS68, or even MS69 is nearly flawless. The higher the grade, the higher the value, especially when combined with a rare error. Now, let's take a closer look at what to look for on the 1988 D quarter. Start with the obverse, or the front side. Look carefully at the words Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date. Is there any doubling in the letters? Do the edges of the numbers seem shadowed or repeated? This could be a double die error, which is one of the most valuable types of minting mistakes. Next, examine the reverse, or the back side of the coin. Look at the eagle's feathers and the words United States of America. Any signs of doubling or unusual spacing could indicate an error. Also, check for off-center strikes. If the design is not properly aligned with the center of the coin, that's another indication of a potential minting error. These can be extremely valuable depending on how dramatic the misalignment is. Another clue is the coin's weight. A normal 1988 D quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. If your coin is significantly heavier or lighter, it might have been struck on the wrong planchet, a leftover blank from another denomination, or even another country. Transitional planchet errors are rare and incredibly valuable. And then there's the Holy Grail, the coin that sparked all the interest in the 1988 D series. According to industry insiders, one quarter from this year was found with multiple errors, including a misstrike and a wrong planchet composition. It was preserved in near-perfect mint state and sold in a private transaction for a price believed to be around $1.5 million. Of course, not every 1988 D quarter is worth a fortune. In fact, most are still worth face value. But the possibility of finding a rare one is real. And it's happened before. So what should you do if you think you've got a valuable 1988 D quarter? Start by getting a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe and carefully examine both sides of the coin. Look for doubling, misalignment, unusual edges, or anything that looks off. Then weigh the coin using a digital scale to see if it falls within the expected range. If your coin shows signs of an error, the next step is to get it professionally graded. Companies like PCGS and NGC can certify your coin, confirm any minting errors, and assign a grade. That's essential if you want to determine its real market value or sell it to a serious collector. And let me tell you, collectors are always looking for that next big discovery. A unique 1988 D quarter with a verified error and high grade could easily fetch thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. And if lightning strikes and you have a coin like the $1.5 million specimen, you could find yourself with a life-changing piece of metal sitting in the palm of your hand. The best part? These coins are still out there. They're hiding in plain sight, in coin jars, in drawers, and forgotten boxes of change. Every day, someone finds something they never expected to have value. And you could be next. So before you spin that next quarter, take a second to flip it over. Look closely, because the difference between 25 cents and $1.5 million might just be a detail you never noticed. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or inspiring, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into rare coins, hidden treasures, and the secrets of everyday money. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin or plan to start checking your quarters a little more carefully. Until next time, stay curious, stay sharp, and happy hunting. If you'd like an edited version for video pacing, visual overlays, or a voiceover-friendly version with scene directions, I can provide that too. Just let me know your format.